All right, let's dive into this, huh? Emotion-Free Trading by Larry Levin. Today, we're going to kind of unpack how our mindset can seriously impact trading, for better or worse.
Absolutely. It's surprising how many traders just fixate on all the technical stuff and totally ignore the mental game. That's where Levin's book is really insightful, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Right away, Levin introduces us to these two traders, Ned and James. Total opposites. Ned, he's a successful businessman, but man, when it comes to trading, he falls apart, like completely.
Yeah.
Emotions run the show, throws tantrums.
Oh, yeah. Ned's story, it's like a classic cautionary tale, right? I mean, we've all seen it. He just assumes because he's killed it in the business world, the market's going to be the same. But the psychology of it all, it's a whole different ballgame.
Totally. And then there's James. He starts out soaking up knowledge at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, doesn't jump right into trading. He hangs out with the seasoned pros, picks up on strategies, yeah, but also the mindset you need to actually make it.
Smart move. Having those mentors, that can give you a huge advantage. And he comes across this book, Psycho-Cybernetics. It's all about visualization, like what athletes use.
Interesting. So James takes these techniques and applies them to his trading.
Yep. Set small, realistic goals, like $250 a day. Sounds kind of modest, but think about it. That adds up to over 6 grand a month.
Yeah, true. Consistency, right.
Yeah.
Small wins build up.
Exactly. And guess what? That's exactly what he makes his first month trading. Those daily goals, they really snowball.
Nice. But it wasn't all smooth sailing, I'm guessing.
Of course not. Trading's not all sunshine and rainbows. He had losses too. Everyone does. But the difference is, James, he visualized those losses like a way to analyze, turn setbacks into learning experiences.
Instead of, chucking a keyboard across the room.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
Yeah.
He took those losses in stride,
Yeah.
as part of the process. That's a big takeaway from Levin. Accepting losses, it's essential for making clear-headed decisions.
That's actually kind of counterintuitive, right? Most people, I think, are wired to avoid losses like the plague.
Right, but that fear, it can lead to some bad choices when you're trading.
Yeah.
And Levin also talks about how trading messes with how we think about time and money. The potential for quick profits, it can be exciting, but also a little freaky.
Yeah, I get that. It's like, is this real? We're conditioned to think wealth builds slowly.
Exactly. And if deep down you don't believe you deserve those quick wins, you might end up sabotaging yourself.
Mm.
Like imagine someone trying to lose weight, but they still see themselves as overweight. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know that feeling. Those mental blocks are tough to break. So we've got embracing losses and shifting our money mindset. What other essential skills does Levin highlight?
He talks a lot about flexibility and detachment, almost like a Zen thing, Don't get too attached to your trades. Got to be ready to shift gears when the market changes.
Interesting. Can that detachment actually lead to better trades?
That's the idea. Holding on to a losing trade just because you're stubborn, that can really backfire.
Yeah, makes sense. And I think Levin also talks about having a structured approach with like your own personal rules, right? Like
Yeah.
his rule about stopping after 3 losing trades in a row.
Yeah. That one's a good example of self-awareness. You're basically preventing yourself from digging a deeper hole when your emotions take over. Do you have a rule like that?
Not a hard and fast rule, but yeah, I've definitely noticed that my worst trades tend to happen after a string of losses.
Yeah, I get that. Having those predefined boundaries can be really helpful. Takes the emotion out of it.
Like an emergency brake for your trading, basically.
Uh-huh, exactly. Then there's this idea of flawless execution. But Levin doesn't mean picking the perfect entry and exit points every time.
Right. So what does he mean by flawless execution?
It's more about acting decisively. When you see an opportunity, no hesitation. Imagine you spot a trade that fits your criteria perfectly, but then that doubt creeps in, right? Like, what if I'm wrong? What if it reverses?
Yeah.
That hesitation, it can cost you money big time.
So you're saying flawless execution means trusting your analysis and going for it when you see the signal.
Exactly. And he recommends practicing with like a simulator account to sharpen those skills, especially if you're newer to trading. He mentions one called AudiTrack specifically.
That's a great tip. Build that confidence without risking real money.
Definitely. And we can't forget about stop-loss orders. Levin's a huge advocate for them. He tells these kind of scary stories about traders who refused to use stops,
Yeah.
and they ended up getting wiped out.
Yeah, that's like driving without a seatbelt. You might be fine for a while, but eventually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Levin, he has his personal rule to move his stop to break even after he's up 100 points on a trade. It's like locking in a win, no matter what. What do you think about that?
I like it. Protect those profits. There's always another trade coming along, you know? No need to get greedy.
That's the right attitude. It goes back to what Levin talks about, actively managing both your winning and losing trades.
So you're not just setting it and forgetting it. You're staying engaged, making adjustments as needed.
Exactly. He even suggests doing some paper trading after a loss to kind of regain your composure, avoid making emotional decisions.
That's a good idea. Take a time out, cool off a bit.
Yeah. And lastly, he talks about this ongoing need for self-reflection, always trying to improve, letting go of the fear of being wrong, realizing that the market's always right. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's like anything else you want to master, right? You never stop learning. You never stop growing.
Absolutely. Especially in a field like trading, that growth mindset is essential. We've covered the skills you do need, but Levin also has a section on skills you don't need, the common traps to avoid.
Skills you don't need. Okay, now we're getting to the good stuff. I think we've all felt that temptation to break our own rules, when we think we've got a sure thing.
Oh, yeah. But Levin, he says that even if it wins in the short term, it can lead to bad habits.
So even if you win by breaking the rules, it's still a no-no. What else does Levin put on his list of trading sins?
Well, there's revenge trading. That's when you blame the market for your losses and then try to get back at it.
Yeah. The I'll show the market who's boss mentality.
Exactly. But the market doesn't care. It's just doing its thing.
Yeah.
And getting emotional, it just clouds your judgment.
Right. So no blaming the market. Got it. What about something a little more spiritual, like hoping and praying for a trade to work out?
Levin's not a fan of that either. He's all about taking an active approach, not just wishing and hoping.
It's about taking responsibility, right? Not relying on luck or something.
Exactly. And then there's doubling down on a losing trade, which a lot of times is driven by fear of being wrong.
The classic averaging down trap. But what if the market keeps moving against you?
You just dig a deeper hole. And it's often more about ego than anything else, like not being able to admit you were wrong.
So no doubling down, check. What about greed? The big one.
Yeah, Levin talks about that too. He says greed makes us expect too much, and it keeps us from taking profits when we should. We get so focused on squeezing out every last penny that we end up giving back our wins.
Bulls make money, bears make money, pigs get slaughtered.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's fear, which can be just as bad. Fear makes us cut our profits short or even freeze up completely.
So it's all about balance, isn't it? Confidence, but not arrogance. Caution, but not fear.
Absolutely. That's where all the tools Levin gives us really come in handy.
Okay, so we've got the skills we need, the ones we don't need, and this whole thing about mastering our emotions. But I'm really interested in this psychocybernetic stuff. It's like, how top athletes use mental imagery to train? This is applying that same power to trading. Rewiring your self-image for success. Can you unpack that a little?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Psychocybernetics, as Levin explains it, it's all about how the picture we have of ourselves, our self-image, it affects what we believe and what we do. And it's about how to reprogram our minds for success.
It's like we've got this internal GPS, but if it's programmed wrong, we end up lost.
Yeah, exactly. And the programming, it comes from our self-image. If we have a negative self-image, it can totally mess us up, even if we want to succeed.
Like trying to drive with the parking brake on. You might move a little, but you'll never get up to speed.
That's a good one. And visualization, along with mental practice, that's how we release those brakes. Levin's got all these exercises for, rewiring our minds for trading success. One that really stuck with me was that statement equity increase exercise.
Oh, yeah. That one's powerful. Picturing your account statement, but with your daily profit goals already added, it's almost like you're tricking your mind into believing it's already real.
Right. Creating that mental blueprint. And with all the visualization exercises, the important thing is to use all your senses. Don't just see the numbers, feel the paper, hear the sound of those profits rolling in.
I can practically smell them. Another one that stood out to me was the pulling the trigger exercise. For getting over that fear of entering trades. We've all been there, right? Seeing a good opportunity but hesitating and then watching it take off without us.
Oh, yeah. Happens all the time. That exercise is about picturing yourself entering trades confidently based on your signals without that doubt creeping in.
Yeah.
Feel that surge of confidence as you execute the trade, nice and clean.
It's like mental rehearsal for a big performance. By the time the real deal comes along, you're ready to crush it.
Exactly. And Levin also recommends an exercise for limiting risk. Remember James, our star student from earlier, He used this one to master stopping losses and trailing profits.
Yeah, overriding that urge to be greedy, to let the winners run forever. I think we've all been burned by that, haven't we? The market turns and we're left thinking, why didn't I get out sooner?
It's a tough lesson. But this visualization, it helps you train your mind to go for the long-term consistency instead of those quick hits. Imagine yourself setting those stops, trailing them, feeling good about locking in those profits, even if you miss out on a few extra points.
Playing the long game, not getting caught up in the day-to-day ups and downs.
Exactly. Now, there's this one exercise that I thought was kind of different. It's called clearing the calculator.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting one, like a mental reset button.
Right. Yeah, it uses this image of clearing a calculator, that high voltage zap, to represent letting go of past trades and starting fresh. Visualize yourself holding the calculator, feeling the button, seeing the numbers disappear when you hit clear.
Poof. All those past trades, good, bad, whatever, gone.
It's pretty powerful, right? It's about coming to each new trade with a clear head, no baggage from before.
Okay, so we've got this whole toolbox of exercises, but does Levin give any general tips for making visualization more effective?
Oh, yeah, definitely. He talks about consistency, relaxation, vivid detail, and acting as if. Consistency's key. Make it a regular thing, same time every day to really build that neural pathway.
Like building a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Exactly. Relaxation, that's about getting into a receptive state of mind, no distractions. And vivid detail, we talked about that, making it feel real to your subconscious.
All those senses. See it, hear it, feel it, smell it.
And then acting as if. Behaving as if you've already achieved your goal, embodying those qualities of a successful trader.
Fake it till you make it.
Not exactly. It's more about aligning your inner world with your outer aspirations. Your actions should show the trader you want to be.
Got it. No more sweatpants and coffee stains on the trading desk. So what about those who have trouble visualizing? Does Levin have any advice for them?
He does. He says, try visualizing someone you admire successfully handling trades. Could be a mentor, a trader you follow, even a fictional character.
Like borrowing their confidence till you build your own. I like that.
We've covered a lot of ground here, from the psychology of trading to psychocybernetics and those practical exercises, for rewiring our minds. What about people who are skeptical about all this? The ones who think visualization is just wishful thinking.
Well, visualization isn't magic, right? It's a proven technique backed by science, and it's used by all sorts of successful people, not just traders.
Right. It's about training your mind, just like you'd train your body for, sports or something. You're creating that mental blueprint for success, and that guides your actions, helps you make better decisions.
So it's not about replacing logic and analysis. It's more like adding another tool to your trading toolbox.
Exactly. And while it's good to be skeptical, I think anyone who's doubtful should give these techniques a try. With an open mind, they might be surprised.
Okay, so we've covered the skills you do need, the skills you don't need, and we dug into psychocybernetics. But I think there's one more big area to look at before we wrap this up.
Yeah, and it's something that always gets people talking in the trading world. The role of news and all those outside influences.
Revin's got a strong opinion on this, doesn't he? He thinks relying on news can actually hurt your trading.
Yeah, he does. He says all that news, it distracts us from what really matters. Price action, the signals the market's given us.
He even goes so far as to say that news is often manipulated or at least presented in a way that benefits the insiders, the people who are already in the know.
It's like trying to drink from a fire hose, right? Mm-hmm. So much information coming at you, it's easy to get overwhelmed and lose sight of the bigger picture.
So how do we handle all this news and information? Does Levin say we should just ignore it completely?
Not necessarily. He says it's important to be aware of the big events, but we shouldn't let news control our trades.
It's about developing your own market analysis skills and trading strategy, not just follow what everyone else is saying.
Exactly. Filter out the noise. Focus on the signals that matter for your approach. Be an independent thinker, not a follower.
So trust your own judgment, your ability to read the market. Don't get swayed by every headline or news flash.
Exactly. And remember Ned, our emotional trader from the beginning. He was always getting whipped around by the news, jumping in and out of trades based on whatever he heard.
Poor Ned. He never stood a chance.
Nope. But James, he had a plan, and he stuck to it no matter what was going on around him.
So it's not about becoming a hermit. It's about finding that balance, staying informed, but not letting outside stuff mess with your head.
Absolutely. Be the captain of your own ship. Navigate the market with confidence.
I like that. But how does this connect back to the whole psycho-cybernetics thing, mastering your emotions?
I think it comes down to having a strong internal locus of control. If we're always looking outside ourselves for answers, we're giving away our power.
Like saying our success depends on things we can't control.
Right.
Hmm.
And that can really hold you back. Psycho-cybernetics, it's about the power of our own minds to shape our reality.
It's about realizing that we can choose our thoughts, our beliefs, and our actions no matter what's happening around us.
Exactly. And that's a powerful message because it means we're not just victims of circumstance. We can create the trait and outcomes we want.
It's about taking control of our trade and our own destiny, right?
Exactly. We decide by our choices and our actions if we're going to sink or swim.
So all this stuff about news and outside noise, it really comes down to self-reliance, taking ownership of our own trading journey.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, think about the most successful traders. They're often the ones who can block out all the distractions and focus on their own process. They trust their own judgment. They have that strong inner compass.
This has been a really cool deep dive into emotion-free trading. We've covered a ton, but one last question for you before we wrap up. If you had to sum up Levin's message, like the one big takeaway, what would it be?
That's a good one. I think it's this. To really succeed in trading, and maybe in life too, it's not just about the skills or the strategy. It's about mastering that inner game, understanding how our thoughts, our beliefs, and all those emotions, how they affect what we do, and in the end, our results.
Becoming the CEO of our own minds, right? Getting our inner world and our outer world on the same page.
Exactly. And that's something we can take with us beyond trading. It's about becoming the best versions of ourselves, period.
And I think that's a powerful message for anyone, really. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with something to think about, a question that came up for me while we were talking. It's not something Levin directly addressed in the book, but
I'm curious. What is it?
so we've talked about all this stuff about mastering emotions, reprogramming our self-image, that internal locus of control, right? But what about intuition? Where does that fit in?
Good question. That's a debate that's been going on forever in trading.
Because Levin, he's all about structure, discipline, clear signals, and rules. But then you have all these other traders who talk about intuition, just knowing or feeling when a move is coming, even if the technicals don't show it.
Yeah, it's tricky, right? Intuition can be a powerful tool, but it can also be misleading if you don't have a solid understanding of the market and, a good risk management plan.
So how do we balance these two things? The logical stuff Levin talks about and this intuitive, almost like mystical side of trading.
I think we have to recognize that both logic and intuition are important. It's about learning to tell when to use each one.
Maybe intuition is something that develops over time as you get more experience. You start to pick up on the market's little quirks and signals.
Could be. As we get more in tune with the market's rhythms and patterns, we might start to sense those movements, almost like a sixth sense.
Like learning a new language. At first you need the rules and translations, but eventually you just start thinking and speaking the language naturally.
That's a great way to put it. Maybe trading intuition is kind of like that. You can't force it. It just comes naturally as you understand the market better.
So the takeaway here is that emotion-free trading doesn't mean ignoring our intuition. It's about finding that harmony between logic and intuition, where they work together.
Yeah, I like that. It's about using everything we've got, our logic and our intuition, and using both to be better traders.
And that's what makes it so interesting, right? It's a journey. You're always learning, always growing. And it's this back and forth between your mind, your emotions, and the market.
It really is. It's a journey of self-discovery, not just about making money.
Well said. So one last thought for everyone out there. What role does intuition play in your trading? And how can you bring logic and intuition together to improve your experience? Think about that. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, happy trading.